Are Russian MMA fighters boring? Before I answer that question, I'd like to share this clip from the Jake Shields podcast, then I'll give you my 2 cents.
I'm not trying to hate, but certain countries just hasn't got on the exact program yet. The Brazilians got it down. The Brazilians will fight.
They go for
They'll
it,
fight
yeah.
their asses off.
They're
They
crazy,
got it
they're
down.
crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah, they got it down. But the Russians, they kind of still figuring that part out. And they're okay
They're more
with
athletes than fighters.
You know what I mean? I respect what they got. They're strong, big and strong, and they wrestle cool. You know, but it's like, it's not exciting. And we're in the business of entertainment. I know it's a match and you're trying to win, but sometimes I'd rather just do this thing to be entertaining more than to win.
Firstly, I want to say that I really hate how negative social media is, especially on Instagram. I would say I'm fortunate enough to be one of the creators that doesn't get that many negative comments, but every now and then I come across one. But for the most part, I would say my community is pretty supportive. But there's this funny comment some haters like to leave where they judge me because I don't partake in the sport that I'm analyzing. I don't owe anyone an explanation as to why I am not a pro fighter, but even if I was, I'm pretty sure I would still get negative comments. Because Bobby Green is a UFC vet who was in the top 15 at some point in his career, and you'll still have people leave comments like this. Do you know how hard it is to get into the UFC, let alone have a lengthy career? Bobby Green was literally one of the best fighters in the world when he was in his prime, and I bet you at least 95% of these guys commenting and liking have never stepped foot in the octagon professionally, let alone amateurly. People are too comfortable disrespecting fighters, and it ticks me off. And even if you disagree with what he was saying, he did make some valid points. Brazilian fighters are objectively more entertaining than Russians. Look at the shooter box gym, for instance. Charles Oliveira, Shogun Rua, Wanderlei Silva, Marco Tulio, Felipe dos Santos. I can go on for days really. And the thing is, it's all a question of what are you entertained by as the fan. Me personally, I'm more likely to prefer the fighter that's technical and would be considered as boring to most of the MMA community. For instance, Movsar Yusuf Zalal, Izzy when he's jabbing and leg kicking. It's just my personal preference because I prioritize fight IQ and defense above all things. But I understand why some fans don't like that. I literally prefer the Russian fighters over the Brazilians despite them being more entertaining. I really like wrestling. Never been a huge fan of jiu-jitsu. I just like seeing guys get ragdolled. I don't know, it's just beautiful for me. And I remember the first time after I watched Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis, I was like, was it really as boring as people were claiming it was? Then I tried to rewatch it and I was like, yeah, that fight freaking sucked. I couldn't even watch past the third round. I was just like, nah, I'm not doing this. And the worst part is I was trying to study film to make some content, but I was like, bro, I'm not going to watch this fight for 30 minutes. Compare that to someone like Charles Oliveira. When was the last time Charles had a boring fight? It was probably before he dyed his hair, and even then, nothing comes to mind. And I'm not going to act like I've watched every single one of his fights. I haven't. Charles is the perfect example of a grappler that never produces a boring fight, because he doesn't neglect the other aspects of MMA, that is the striking. Charles Oliveira has some of the most dynamic striking in the sense that he uses all of his Muay Thai weapons. Watch his fight against Dustin Poirier as a great example. And even when he does take them down, he's not smothering them against the cage. He's constantly transitioning, attacking submissions. I feel like Charles Oliveira is one of the few BJJ practitioners that has a really deep bag, because MMA has reached a point where most fighters, including the strikers coming from a striking background, know how to defend basic wrestling and submissions. Because 9 times out of 10, anytime I see a guy going for a guillotine, I'm like, this is dumb. You're not going to secure it, and you're going to end up on bottom and start eating strikes. Even Paul Craig, whom I think is a very good BJJ practitioner, lost his last fight like that. And just to prove to you how objectively true the statement Brazilian fighters are more entertaining than Russian fighters is, gun to your head, name either 5 boring Russian fighters or either 5 Brazilian Russian fighters. If you don't, you die. All jokes aside, I wouldn't say Russian fighters are boring. I would just say they're less entertaining than Brazilian fighters. So I don't fully agree with what Bobby Green said. I mean, the only few boring Russian fighters I can think of on the top of my head are Movsar and Muhammad Mokaev. Other than that, I don't think there's anyone I can think of right now. So you guys will have to let me know. Otherwise, who do you think's more entertaining between Brazilian and Russian fighters? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe.